Long ago, two races ruled over Earth, humans and monsters. One day, war broke out between the two races. After a long battle, the humans were victorious. They sealed the monsters underground with a magic spell. Upon opening the game Undertale, the player is greeted with this text. However, it really doesn't give as much information as I personally would like it to. So, I did some digging and found that the lore of this game is actually a lot deeper than it seems at first glance. So, without further ado, this is a brief summary of the Story of Undertale. No, not that one. You know what I meant. We were literally on it like 5 seconds ago. What is wrong with you? Finally. Alright, on with the video. A good portion of Undertale's story actually takes place before the player shows up. We learn from the intro text that at an unknown date in the past, humans and another species, known as monsters, lived on Earth peacefully. However, at some point, a war happened between the two races. Eventually, we actually figure out why said war happened. So, in the world of Undertale, both humans and monsters have physical souls represented by hearts. Humans have colorful souls, while monsters have gray souls. Along with having color, human souls are also significantly stronger than the monster's souls, even having the ability to persist after death. If a human were to die, a monster can absorb their soul, gaining incredible power. Humans were afraid of this, so they began to fight the monsters, attempting to rid them from the planet. The monsters, not wanting to fight, didn't take a single soul during the war. So, without fighting back, they obviously lost. As the intro text says, the humans sealed all of the surviving monsters underground using magic. From now on, I'll just be calling it the Underground rather than just Underground, because that's what pretty much everyone else calls it. The monsters began to explore the underground, finding places such as the Ruins, Snowdin, Waterfall, and Hotland. At some point, the core, a magical power plant made to supply electricity to the underground, was created at the edge of Hotland. And then, we don't really know what happened for the next while. Nowhere in the game does it explain what happened in this time period. So, let's skip forward to... After a while of the monsters building up civilization in the underground, some dumb human child named Chara decided to climb a mountain unsupervised, leading to them falling into a hole at the top. At the bottom of this hole is the underground. Injured by the fall, Chara called out for help. Asriel, son of the king of monsters, Asgore, heard the call and brought them back to the king's castle. The king and queen adopted Chara, and them and Asriel over time became close, almost as if they were siblings. One day, Chara became deathly ill. They requested to see the flowers in their home village one last time before they died. The monsters, being stuck underground, couldn't do anything. Soon after, Chara died. Asriel was so upset by this that he absorbed Chara's soul and gained immense power. Using this power, he traveled through the magical barrier that keeps the monsters underground, taking Chara's body with him. He then carried their body back to their home village, laying them on a bed of golden flowers. The humans, seeing Asriel holding Chara's body, assumed that Asriel had killed them. They then proceeded to attack Asriel with everything they had, mortally wounding him. While Asriel had the power to kill them all, he didn't. He just picked up Chara's body again and walked away. After making it back to the castle, he collapsed in the king's flower garden and died. Additionally, when monsters die, they turn into dust, leaving behind no body. Because he had lost 2 children in one day, King Asgore, in a fit of rage, decided that any and all humans that fall into the underground must die, so that he could take their souls. With the power of 7 human souls, Asgore would have godlike power and would be able to destroy the barrier trapping the monsters underground. In between the time that Asriel died and the player ends up in the underground, 6 other humans showed up. Not much is known about them, other than that they each had a defining trait to their personality and the weapons that they held. The Kindness soul held a frying pan, the Perseverance soul held a notebook, the Bravery soul held a glove, the Integrity soul used ballet shoes, the Patience soul held a toy knife, and the Justice soul held a gun. After a long absence of humans falling into the underground after the sixth one, the main character, also known as Frisk, falls down. At this point, saving, loading, and resetting your save file is literally canon. Some of the characters even know when you load your save file. For example, a silly little talking flower. Anyways, Frisk lands on a bed of yellow flowers, which also just so happens to be Chara's grave. They somehow survive over a 1,000-foot fall from the top of the mountain and get up completely unharmed. They walk a few feet forward and then meet that talking flower I mentioned earlier. He tries to kill Frisk, but fails as Toriel, the goat person thing, throws a fireball at him and saves Frisk. Toriel then pretty much adopts Frisk and guides them through the Ruins, an old town on the west side of the underground. She teaches Frisk how to stay alive, make friends, and generally just how the underground works. Toriel wants Frisk to stay with her forever in the Ruins because she's afraid of King Asgore killing them, but Frisk has some other plans. Frisk eventually begs Toriel to leave enough that she decides to go ahead and destroy the exit to the Ruins, blocking them in forever. However, she changes her mind about destroying the exit and instead decides to beat the crap out of her adopted child. Frisk eventually defeats Toriel in one of two ways decided by the player. They either kill Toriel, or convince her to let them leave. However, since this video is only covering the pacifist route, we're just gonna assume that Frisk doesn't kill Goat Mom. If you want to see a video on all of the other 92 possible endings, let me know in the comments, or just by liking this video. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe. We're extremely close to 1,000 subscribers, and it really helps out the channel. Anyways, back to the video. Frisk continues on through the underground, coming across, once again, the talking flower. His name is Flowey, by the way. He goes on an evil rant about how Frisk won't be able to beat every enemy they come across without killing, but he's completely wrong. After his rant, he does, that, and then disappears into the ground, not to be seen again until the end of the game. Frisk keeps walking, and ends up at a snowy forest, meeting the funny skeleton Sans. If you were active in meme culture at all, you've probably seen this guy. He makes bad puns, drinks ketchup, and everyone loves him. He's supposed to be guarding for humans to capture, but he really doesn't care, so he's pretty friendly. His brother Papyrus, on the other hand, is obsessed with capturing humans, mostly because if he did, it would make him famous. You first meet him in an interaction where Sans tells Frisk to hide behind a conveniently shaped lamp, and they do. Papyrus then comes and yells at Sans for a bit, while Sans tells hilarious skeleton puns. Papyrus attempts to tell a joke of his own, then leaves. Frisk continues through the snowy forest, now known to be Snowdin, encountering some not-so-friendly dogs along the way. And Jerry. You can't forget Jerry. Eventually, Frisk comes across Snowdin Town, where Sans, Papyrus, and most of the rest of the inhabitants of Snowdin live. There are a couple of buildings here, my personal favorite being Grillby's. Grillby's is a bar run by a monster literally made of fire, where Sans spends a lot of his time. After hopefully talking to the residents of Snowdin Town, Frisk continues east through the forest where they find Papyrus blocking their path. He reveals that he wants to be Frisk's friend, but he is unable to, because monsters and humans are enemies, and he values fame over friends. Not a good thing to do, by the way. So, Papyrus decides to try and fight Frisk, to weaken them for capture. Frisk, however, has other plans. They dodge Papyrus's attacks until he is tired out and gives up. Then the two go on a date? It makes sense in context, just play the game. After the date, Frisk moves on to the next area, the only section of the underground with rain, Waterfall. There, they find Sans. Again, Sans is everywhere, you can't escape him. Frisk and Sans teleport to Grillby's, and then Sans chugs a bottle of ketchup. Man, this game is weird. After that, strange series of events, Frisk returns to Waterfall and continues walking for a little bit before encountering Undyne, the fish lady with a spear. Undyne is the head of the Royal Guard, who are pretty much just the police of the Underground. Also, her opinion of Frisk, in the words of the Great Papyrus, is a little murdery. Frisk barely escapes Undyne several times, and most of those times they are saved by Monster Kid, the dinosaur thing, I guess? I don't know. Anyways, they don't have arms, and they really suck at not falling over. Also, they're obsessed with Undyne. Like, seriously, an unhealthy obsession. Frisk continues walking, comes across a training dummy that is possessed by a ghost, listens to some bad... I mean, definitely high-quality, amazing music. Yeah. Talks to an old turtle guy, pays for a weird-looking cat's college, flexes, walks by some floating flowers, gets carried across a disproportionately small gap by a bird, bets on snails racing, and probably does even more stuff that I forgot to mention because there's so much stuff to do in Waterfall. After that, Frisk encounters the fish lady yet again, but this time can't escape. So they fight, and because the head of the Royal Guard somehow can't beat a literal child, Frisk wins by slowly walking away. Eventually, Frisk reaches an area known as Hotland, still being chased by Undyne, where Undyne overheats due to her armor, falls over, and passes out. However, Frisk, being the nice person they are, pours a cup of water on Undyne's head, causing her to magically get up, completely unharmed, look around, and then walk away. Frisk then walks forward around 40 feet into a laboratory, where they meet Alphys, the royal scientist, so pretty much just the smartest monster in the Underground. Alphys reveals that she's been stalking Frisk since the moment they left the ruins, and that somehow doesn't make her weird. She also built a killer robot that serves another purpose as the main entertainer in the Underground, named Mettaton. With perfect timing, Mettaton breaks through the wall, forcing Frisk into a quiz show, where the price for answering correctly is more questions, and the punishment for answering incorrectly is death. Alphys eventually cheats by helping Frisk, causing Mettaton to end the show early. After some more talking, Frisk leaves the lab, continuing on through Hotland, doing a lot of stuff along the way that I am way too lazy to mention for the purposes of this video. If this video does well, I'll probably make a more in-depth video on the Undertale lore, but I have a week to make this video, and the script is already 9 pages long, so I do not have time to do so now. Frisk eventually makes it to the MTT Resort. And no, I'm not going to talk about the Spider Lady. MTT Resort is a hotel/entertainment center run by Mettaton, bordering the core. If you don't remember what that is, it's a magical power plant designed to supply the Underground with electricity. Going on to the core from the resort, Frisk gets ambushed multiple times, comes out completely fine, unless you suck at the game, and moves on. At the end of the core, Mettaton is waiting for Frisk, ready to perform the final episode of their weird show where Mettaton just kinda tries to kill Frisk, Attack of the Killer Robot. Frisk then flips a secret switch on Mettaton's back, causing him to turn into its secret form. And then Frisk just kind of cuts off Mettaton's legs and arms. Mettaton, you are literally made of metal. How are you letting a child do this to you? After the battle, Frisk escapes, finally almost to the castle by the magical barrier mentioned earlier. On their way, Frisk learns from some monsters of the story of Asriel and Chara, but we already talked about that, so I'm not gonna explain it again. Right before reaching the castle, Frisk enters a yellow corridor, also known by the fans as the Judgment Hall. There, they find Sans, the funny skeleton from Snowdin. He judges them for their actions and any evil they might have done. No, I am not joking. However, because Frisk has been so nice to everyone throughout their time in the Underground, Sans turns back into his usual silly self and lets them pass. Finally, Frisk reaches the castle. There they meet Asgore, the king of monsters. Soon, however, Frisk learns that Asgore doesn't really hate humans, but he feels that he has to collect 7 of their souls to become a god and destroy the barrier, to free all of monsterkind. Asgore and Frisk then enter a fight, where this time, Frisk has no option but to fight back, as there is no changing Asgore's mind or running away. After the small child somehow overpowers the supposed strongest monster in the Underground and injures him to the point that he can't fight anymore. How do you even do that? Asgore gives up, and gives Frisk the option to kill him and use his power to cross the barrier and go home, or to stay in the Underground. Frisk chooses to be nice and not kill the monster's only leader for their own gain. Asgore is surprised at this, but accepts Frisk's choice and begins talking about what they could do next. And then they all lived happily ever after. Oh, right. Remember that talking flower from the beginning of the game? He's back, and he just killed the king. Also, he took the 6 human souls Asgore had already collected, and he's using their power. And he's just turned into whatever the hell that thing is. Even though Flowey is pretty much a literal god with the ability to do all of the saving and loading shenanigans the player can, he still somehow loses the fight. How strong is this kid? Jesus. Anyways, the player chooses to let him go and leaves the underground, going back home. Now that's it, right? I can be done with this dumb video now, right? Yeah, right? I'm done! Okay, here we go. Flowey comes back at the end of the game to tell the player he knows a way to get them a better ending. He recommends them to load their save file before fighting Asgore, and to go hang out with Undyne. Luckily, Papyrus, being the idiot that he is, already arranged a hangout session to happen with Frisk and pretty much their biggest enemy. After the hangout session, which goes, fine, Undyne asks Frisk to deliver a letter from her to Alphys. She also threatens the human by telling them she'll kill them if they read it. I wonder what it could be about. Frisk delivers the letter to Alphys, and it ends up being a love letter that Undyne forgot to sign. So, Alphys opens the door and thinks that it was Frisk that asked her out. Because of this misunderstanding, Frisk and Alphys go out on a date that ends up with them in the trash dump, role-playing Alphys asking out Undyne. Can this game get any weirder? Yes, apparently it can, because Undyne overheard the entire thing, and admits that she likes Alphys back. And then Papyrus shows up out of nowhere and has Alphys start jogging. What the fuck? Frisk receives a call from Papyrus soon after, saying that Alphys didn't feel well and had to go home early. He also says that for no reason at all, he strongly feels that Frisk should check the lab in Hotland. Frisk goes to the lab and finds a note from Alphys talking about how they deserve to know the truth. They also see that the bathroom door is unlocked. What kind of truth is this? Frisk enters the bathroom, which turns out to actually be a secret elevator. I'm not even gonna question it anymore. The elevator takes Frisk to a weird old-looking lab, known as the True Lab. There, Frisk fights amalgamations of monsters melted together, and discovers the... Through a series of lab entries, Frisk discovers the determination experiments, which were a set of experiments that let monsters come back from the dead. Alphys, at some unknown time, discovered determination, which is something that lets human souls persist after death. She wanted to see what would happen if she gave dying monsters determination, so she did. At first, her experiment seemed successful. The monsters died, came back to life, and went on as if nothing had happened. However, soon after, Alphys discovered that the monsters' bodies aren't strong enough to hold determination, when all of the revived monsters started to melt together. Those monsters are still in the True Lab while Frisk is there. Also, Alphys did an experiment to find out what would happen if something without a soul suddenly gains the will to live. So, she took a yellow flower from the king's garden and injected it with determination. At first it seemed like nothing was happening, but a few entries later she writes, "The flower's gone." Hey, wait a minute. Anyways, Frisk does a series of puzzles to activate an elevator, when they get a call from a voice they have never heard before, talking about everything falling into place and ending with, "See you soon." What the hell? Back by the castle, Frisk continues on to fight Asgore as normal, until... That's right, Goat Mama's back, and so is the whole main cast of characters. Uh-oh. God damn it, not you again. Flowey stole the 6 human souls. Again. However, this time, instead of transforming into whatever the hell that is, he just directly attacks Frisk, attempting to kill them. However, somehow, with just words of encouragement from their friends, Frisk heals, and Flowey looks defeated, until... So yeah, now Flowey, as well as having all of the human souls, has all of the monster souls too. And on top of what just happened, we get another plot twist. Oh. Now, Frisk is pretty much fighting a god with no way to win. However, Frisk also gains something. Literal invincibility. Frisk once again tries to beat a monster with incredible power by just talking. This time, by calling out to their friends, Frisk finds weird, no-memory versions of the past bosses who just want to hurt them. To win, Frisk must help the lost souls remember who they are so that they can resist against Asriel. With all of their friends' help, Frisk finds that there's only one soul left to save, that being Asriel himself. Asriel cries about how he's only doing this because he cares about Frisk for a minute or two, then turns back into a small goat. He then proceeds to cry some more about how he's sorry, but we don't forgive... Oh. Never mind. I guess we do forgive him. Anyways, using the power of the however many souls he has, Asriel destroys the barrier and releases everyone. And then, Frisk wakes up. Yep. That's right, this was all a dream. Although what's a little confusing is that the dream pretty much replicates the exact events that actually happened, so almost everything I already said is still true. The monsters do a speech upon reaching the surface, then the game ends. And with that, I'm finally done with this stupid video. No, I'm not doing genocide. F*** you.